Okay, welcome to Nathaneal Podcast. Today we have a special guest from X, Wasim. Hi, Wasim. Did I say that right? I hope I didn't butcher it.
Yeah, that's about right. Thanks for having me, Nathaniel. Yeah, it's a pleasure. We finally got on to do this.
Yeah, I met you in a space on X before, and we talked a little bit about, you know, um, I forgot what it was called, but basically like outsourcing your work, and I was like speaking in terms of the freelancer side, and
Yeah,
you're on the business side. Yeah,
it was a space on
right
offshore
there you go.
companies,
There you go.
how to like base your companies out of offshore locations and what are the advantages. We did it
Yeah, yeah.
with David Lovejoy, and David's been a good friend from X, and we talk a lot. So we decided that maybe that's a topic we should cover for entrepreneurs because there's always difficulties in certain regions of the world for companies to scale, and
Mm,
certain offshores offer certain advantages, and maybe we
yeah,
should discuss that. That's how we got to meet.
right. Yeah, the first thing that pops in my head now, since you mentioned about offshore, am I correct into thinking that the guy who founded Telegram, I forgot his name, but like
Peter. Yeah,
yeah, and he was arrested recently, right, in
yeah,
Paris, and he's based in like his business is based in Dubai. Is that like
right.
an example of the offshore thing?
100%. Certain jurisdictions offer flexibility in terms of
Right.
legal and financial policies. Dubai is up and coming in terms of offering those flexibilities. It's not that you have to kind of uh, see Dubai or Singapore, where I was based out of, as like the place where you sort of do sort of like kind of work in the fringes of what's legal and what's illegal, but it's more to do with offering more flexibility for companies. And Telegram is a big company. It's a unicorn. People have used Telegram to their advantages in crypto. They've used it a lot for growing their businesses for e-commerce as well. So I mean, a lot of those things you don't get to do if you're working out of certain jurisdictions. And when I saw the news that he got arrested in France, I was actually pretty surprised because I was under the impression that he was kind of on the move a lot. And if he's a guy that moves around, then he should have been like apprehended a lot earlier. Why now? What happened? So that's something I'm kind of still wrapping my head around. But yeah, it is what it is, right?
Interesting. I really need to like look into this more because I mean the reason why I'm in very new to business. Like I only started business 6 months ago, so
Interesting.
like these types of things are very new to me, and that's actually why I invited you because it seems that you have an in-depth knowledge in startups. So I did want to ask you like because I also want to know what's your experience on startups with business, growing businesses, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a backstory of how I started. I graduated in 2012 and then started working immediately. I was working in import export. I was exporting ready-made garments because Bangladesh is one of the largest manufacturers of ready-made garments throughout the world.
Yeah.
um, as a trader, trying to ship my consignments abroad, mostly to Western Europe and to the US. My first problem was always trying to book trucks, and getting your trucks delivered to the port on time was one of the biggest challenges. Why we had delayed shipments and angry buyers and a lot of other casualties that come with not managing your time properly. And like I was 5 to 6 years, and then in 2018, August of 2018, I got together with a few friends from school who happened to also face the same problems in logistics, and we started Loop Freight. Loop Freight is basically my first startup. It's a trucking platform where we book trucks for manufacturers, for distributors who want to ship their goods abroad. And that's how I came across my first exposure to the startup world. And we eventually landed an accelerator program in Singapore in 2019, which is called Accelerating Asia, and they're basically a government-funded um, seed stage accelerator program that funds your startup and gives you mentorship and networking opportunities for you to take your business to the next level. We got into that program. It was a 100-day program, pretty ruthless if I'm being honest, because you have to kind of like pace yourself really fast with their program, and you're kind of forced to be efficient as a startup because you're working with this little capital for a lot more,
Like
you know, for a
for
lot
the
more
goal,
growth.
for a
Exactly,
big goal. Yeah.
exactly. So, well, that's how I got used to the world of startups, and then we started having exposures to venture capitalists in Singapore. We had meetings with Sequoia Capital, which is a tier one VC that invests globally. We had meetings with Wavemaker Partners, which is one of the biggest regional venture capital in Southeast Asia. Well, they invest in a lot of startups out of Philippines. That I know for sure. So that's how I kind of got used to getting my startup off the ground by experiencing how investor meeting goes, and then eventually a year down the line we raised our seed fund for Lufrey, which was about 600,000, but we raised additional capital which nearly totaled to about $1 million. And at that time I got an offer from one of our current investor to buy out my stake. And I was like, I was, that was my first exposure to a startup. I was like, maybe, hey, you know what, this opportunity I might not ever get in my life,
Yeah.
so I might as well take it. So I kind of made a partial exit in that company. I sold about 50% of my stake there, and I used that capital to start two other businesses, which is a
Mm,
shipping agency called
mm.
Logifreight and a beauty retail company, which is kind of absolutely not in my zone. But I started that with a friend of mine, which
Right.
is so yeah. She was actually the brainchild of that company, and well, I actually invested into that company and started leading the operations. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm leading that beauty company, which is called Adora. We pivoted into a salon booking app recently, which is a problem we found when talking with our customers, because apparently salon booking and appointments is a big issue in Bangladesh. And so we
Why is
decided to
that?
get well, for one thing, everyone's pretty busy when you're like, most of our customers are mostly working women and working men for that matter. So they don't really have time to book their salon appointments, and usually salons are overcrowded when you walk in. So if you're walking in, you gotta have to kind of, I mean, stay in line,
To
stay
wait.
in queue. Yeah, exactly, queue, right? You gotta get in line before the next guy finishes his haircut. So using Adora, we found that we can actually cut down their waiting time and
Right.
make
Okay.
their experiences a lot more smoother by trying to ensure that they get their appointments on time, and also get customer reviews, which is not very transparent in Bangladesh. So like with salon offers better services for haircuts versus with salon offers, like your facials and other stuff. Those review systems are not really, present in Bangladesh. So we kind of started that as well. And yeah, our response has been pretty good so far. We have like 55 recurring customers, and so far we have like a total of 155 salons throughout Bangladesh. Yeah, just trying to see if we can scale this. I'm not really sure where it's gonna go, but I'll give it a shot, I guess.
Right. Okay, that's very interesting. I did want to go back a little bit to, you said you graduated. What did you take during, is that college or high school? Like, what do you, yeah,
University, yeah. I
right,
graduated out of university in 2012. My major was finance and accounting.
right.
I did an MBA right away. I majored in finance, and I did another major in management. So I did a double
Wow.
major. Yeah.
Okay.
So well, I had free time back then, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
might as well. So yeah, I was I was always a finance guy, which is indicated by my bad eyesight, if you will. Yeah. So
Right.
um, yeah, so I was always into numbers, but then I became a trader, and eventually I landed a business in logistics. So I was always on the move with anything, the next opportunity that pops up. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. So you'd say like you're a numbers guy, because I'm starting to think that there are people who think in numbers and some think in word. Maybe it's not like, it's not really mutually exclusive. Because for me, I got into business because of words. Like, I'm, in a way, I think of human behavior, psychology, all that stuff. But I think that you went in there more of the numbers. Is that correct? Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I would classify myself more as an analyst
Right.
than a hands-on guy, but then I ended up becoming a hands-on guy eventually. I think as
Right.
an entrepreneur, you have to do both. You have to
Both. Yeah.
analyze and you have to have a hands-on approach, because without the practical experience, I mean, you don't really know what you're stepping into. So yeah, I'm a numbers guy, but like eventually I became a hands-on guy as well.
Like the management part,
The
right? That,
management part,
right.
operations and everything. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so, like, what did you see? What do you think the most common mistakes of startups are? Like, how do you avoid them?
First things first, I would say, like, whatever product you build, you gotta have a fit with the market. So the most common mistake is product market fit, which is which was, I'll tell you a story about this. Like when we actually started Loop Freight, we didn't have a product market fit. We built a platform that didn't fit in with our customers. It didn't fit in with our truck vendors as well. We ended up spending like $15,000 on that platform,
Yeah.
and it was a complete waste.
Right.
Yeah, so the most common mistake would be your product market fit. The first step to rectifying that mistake, I would say, is to research your market, see if it's a big enough problem, spend some money on that. I would say spend some money like doing
On market
surveys.
research.
Exactly. Spend some money on surveys. Like treat your future customers with a few freebies, if you will. But like get that information, get that data out first, and then build a product based on that. Get your version 1.0 out really fast after you do your survey. After you get your first version out, you kind of like scale from that really quickly. It kind of adds up later on. I mean, it's a lot more easier when you have your customer feedback before you build a product. So that's not what a lot of startups do. I think that's the biggest mistake, the
Right.
product market fit.
So I'm curious. Like you said, you mentioned that your like your startup, your first startup didn't have that product fit. Like, what can you tell me more on what happened there? Like, what did you launch and why didn't it fit? Just to give like the audience more context on what you mean, like a
Okay.
tangible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like like the first product that we brought out was essentially an Uber-like app, which didn't really bode well for our customers because I mean it's on an Uber app you're just booking cars for your destination, but on a trucking app you're supposed to have the kind of goods, the weight of those goods, the dimensions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of attributes that you have to kind of factor in when you're building that app. We didn't factor those in, and it seemed like our customers didn't really want that product because they wanted to detail all the
Yeah.
the consignment that you're sending. And I mean, we didn't factor that in, and eventually, I mean, it told. I mean, it told. I mean, our customers eventually spoke because they didn't really want that product. So we kind of rectified that. We hired a CTO after that, and we started building from scratch, taking into account our customers' feedback. And after that, the product that we built, I mean, it was almost a perfect fit because everyone kind of liked using the platform a lot more after that.
Gotcha. Okay. So there were like, in a way, you didn't expect. It's a way. In a way, you just had like a get your product from point A to point B, but you didn't like specify if it's food or it's like retail or whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
We just shipped a product. We didn't really take customer feedback.
Right.
Like I mean that kind of cost set us back $15,000. But well, you know what? You learn your lesson, right? And you kind of move on from that. Yeah, yeah. We went for a product and we tried to fit that into the market, which was our biggest mistake. The proper thing would have been to find your market
Yeah.
and then build a
Build the
product
product
into
based
that
on them.
market. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I just learned that like the way I think about it is you sell before you build. So you kind of like I like to do this as well with my so before I build something out, like I ask my email list, hey, this is a course that I'm thinking of making. Like if I make this course, are you gonna buy it? And if no one replies, I don't build it. That's happened to me before
That's
actually. Like
interesting.
I didn't build a course because no one replied. So I was like, oh, okay, so they don't like it.
No, I mean that's huge. I mean, like, yeah, I mean that's something we should have done back in 2018. But I
Right.
mean, you're way ahead of the game. I mean, a lot further out than I was back then.
Appreciate you. So
Yeah.
other than like product market fit, is there anything at the top of your head as well, like quick list on what the common mistakes would be for startups?
Yeah, like there's a lot of mistakes that startups make. I mean, eventually you kind of have to narrow it down to like a few. But if I had to pick my top few, I would say product market fit. The next in line would be a founder fit.
Founder fit.
Fit, exactly. So you and your co-founders, it's like a marriage, right? It's you're kind of eventually have to be with this guy across your desk, like throughout the day. You might not like a lot of things he does or she does, and she might not, like the same. Eventually, you're gonna have to, like get to a point where you have those discussions, and the earlier you have those discussions, the better your founder fit will be. You don't like step into their boundaries; they don't step into your boundaries, and that's how teams should coexist. And whatever their goals are, you should support those goals, and whatever your goals are, they should support it. That's how a team coexists. And to be very honest, everyone needs a founder fit because it's impossible to do it alone, in my view.
Right. If you say that, then like, do you think that it's impossible to do it alone? Would you say what are your thoughts about solopreneurship if that's the case?
I think you have to outsource a lot of things if you're a
Yeah.
solopreneur. But I mean, like back in 2018, AI was just up and coming. And I mean, it was there, it was pretty advanced, but we didn't really have products where you could, pay a monthly fee and use an AI platform. Now we do. Now you can source a lot of stuffs out to AI, and that kind of helps your solopreneur. That kind of cuts your costs down. I would say, as a solopreneur, like I'm building a newsletter. So for my newsletter, I'm a solopreneur, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm having to source all of my designing, my all my newsletter platform onto other third party products, right? And that's helping me a lot. So my view is, as a solopreneur, we should definitely try to source as much work as possible to third parties. That's how like we can work more productively.
Right. So that you can focus on your zone of genius. That's how I
Exactly.
like.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, as a solopreneur, you're just here to build your, I mean, user list, if you will, your customer list. That should be your day job. Your day job should be sales, business
Right.
development. So, I
Right.
mean, everything else can be outsourced. And in 2024, we're very lucky that a lot of things can be outsourced.
Right. Can you repeat that? Like, what is the day job? Sales and just I'm writing this down.
Well, sales isn't like, if you're selling a product as a solopreneur, your job should be finding selling strategies.
Right.
I mean, like building strategies for your sales pipeline. Build a list of customers that can buy your product. That should be your day job.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. So other than product market fit,
Founder fit.
founder fit, is there anything else that? Yeah.
Yeah, like there's always your investor communication. That's one of the biggest mistakes that founders make early on. If you do land any investment, like it should be the norm that you follow up with your investors every month, because they would expect updates. Even if it's a negative update, share with them. They're not here to bite you, they're here to know where the business is heading, right? So as a founder, I mean, this was a common mistake that like a lot of my other friends made, which is not share investor updates with their I
Investors.
mean, investors. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. So as because like I have a again I'm a solopreneur at the moment, right? And how would I try to like wrap my head around investor communication if there's no investing in me, or like is it that that's not applicable?
No, that's always applicable. I mean, your business. I mean, it's your business, right?
Right.
How you attract investors is up to you. And do you really need that investment? That's a question you have to answer. If you want to scale your business, of course you need investments. So eventually, solopreneur or not, you're gonna have to tap into a pool of investors.
I see.
And I mean, every single solopreneur should concentrate on taking maybe a workshop, maybe what some tutorials, maybe listen to podcasts like this on how to talk to investors, how to gauge their mentality. It should be a continuous process, because investors are just like us, right? I mean, everyone's trying to multiply their money, and why should they pick your business rather than 100 others? That's the point you have to sell to them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, solopreneurs should always, focus on investor relations if they have to scale their business.
Right. So what is your experience in the past with investor communication, and like do you have any interesting stories on investing? Yeah.
And where do I start, right? Like, I mean, it's been a whirlwind. Like
Yeah.
every investor we've ever met, they've told us, I mean, 20 different things, and you kind of have to pick the gist of it. I mean, I remember this one instance where my co-founder met Wave, one of the biggest um, venture capitalists in Singapore, Wavemaker Partners, and like they straight away said no, because like you guys are out of your depth right now. Your business
Right.
is not really up to scratch. We're not gonna invest into a business this small. Kind of scale your business a little bit, then we can talk about it. Then there was this other venture capitalist. I won't mention that name because the story is kind of funny. Well, when my co-founder went for a meeting, my co-founder actually had a projection of 60 employees by the end of 2019. 60 employees. I mean, let's just get it straight. Even Uber in Bangladesh operates with like 20 employees. Yeah, 20 employees. And the guy and the VC, he was like, man, why do you even need 60 employees? Like, I mean, what are you doing? What kind of business is this? Is it are you trying to be efficient, or are you trying to just, like grow as fast as possible without making any money? And he was like, man, you guys really need some lesson in numbers. I mean, 60 employees by the end of the year is crazy. You guys are not here to do business. You're just here to kind of scale as fast as possible and get out. And that was the worst meeting I think he ever had, because like the investors said a straight up no. And it was a humbling lesson. It was way to experience what you should not be doing with your business, which is hiring too many people. Like, trying to escalate your costs to a level where nobody's interested in you anymore, right?
Right.
So that's one of the, I think, interesting experiences we've had.
And how did you bounce back from that? Like after you got rejected like that?
We didn't bounce back immediately. Like, I mean, we kind of sucked for a year. I think 12 months down the line, 12 months down the line, it
Yeah.
was always a beat down at first because we were out of our depth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being naive is not a bad thing, and we took it in our stride because we knew that we were swimming with sharks here, and if you're not if you don't speak their language, they're not going to be interested in you. And eventually we got the accelerator really helped. We got a lot of tips on how to talk to investors, how to cut down your business to a level where everyone wants to invest in your company. We focused on efficiency, we focused on productivity, and eventually those numbers kind of added up in our language. And 12 months down the line, after like 99,000 meetings, we landed our first deal with a New York VC that focuses on Bangladesh. How we got that deal was another interesting story. So the guy who uh, runs that investment is actually, he's kind of like a mutual friend of a friend. So that's where your biggest advantage is. You always try and make warm introductions with people, make those warm connections. You knock your guys on LinkedIn, you knock your guys on X, and ask them to introduce you to the next guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like today, it might not matter because, when you're starting out, it feels so distant. But I'll tell you what, there's nothing like networking. That's probably the number one skill I would say everyone should learn. Just make sure that you're a good networker. Just try to make sure you get introduced to as many people as possible. Within 12 months, we met the guy we needed to work with, and he invested in us.
Yeah. No, yeah, like what you mentioned about the networking stuff. My first few clients were my like the first people I met on X, and the people who stayed longest with me as well was the people who I've met earliest on X. So definitely 100% with that. I've never done cold outreach. Like I've never done an outreach where I reached out to someone who doesn't know me at all. Like most of the people that I reach out to are people who are either I commented on my post, I commented on their post, I saw them, like I met them on the space, or like I make sure that we already have a connection in a way.
Is that I mean, like, did you build that connection over time, or how long did it take for you to make those connections?
So a little bit background of my story. I only wrote in Quora starting this year. Like I only started writing online in Quora this year, and I just wrote because I wanted to. I still had like a 9 to 5 night shift 9 to 5, and then uni. And so before I would go to bed, so 4 a.m., I would go on my computer and just write something out on Quora. And I did that for a month. And then what I did was just repost the things that I had written to X. So I subscribed to X Premium just so I could write a long form and post that. And I did that for a month, and then I just exploded. Like my account went from like 100 followers, 86. I remember 86, and went to like 700 something. And like I've made friends from them because like they message me, they cold DM me, and I talk to them. And at that time, I decided, okay, I'm gonna launch an offer now. Like I saw the potential. A lot of things happened. I dropped out of university because like there was trouble in my work in my 9 to 5.
Right.
So I was like, dude, I gotta make money, bro. I gotta make money. So I went on X and I saw that, oh, there's potential, bought a bunch of courses, invested like a lot of money, 13,000 plus dollars.
Wow.
So I burned money as well. Not burned because
Right.
I learned something. I
Yeah,
learned a lot.
that was money well spent. Like when we spend money, we completely, that kind of went down the drain. Like, so you're way
Yeah.
ahead. You're way ahead of the game.
Thank you. So I did that, and like I just reached out to everyone. Like I already had 700 followers, right? And I literally just DM'd everyone in my 700 followers back then. I just DM'd them. I was like, "Hey, I'm doing ghostwriting. Do you know anyone who needs ghostwriting? Hey, I have ghostwriting." Like I DM 700 DMs in like 3 days or something. So
Right.
I just spammed everyone. And luckily enough, one person from my network just said, "Yeah, I'm actually interested." And I was like, "Whoa, just dope! Like, cool." We hopped on a call, and then we like talked about, I talked about how I can help him, how his brand, like how I can improve his brand. I mean, the learning curve was shortened because again, I took 13,000 worth of courses, right?
Courses, yeah. That
Yeah,
kind of helped.
that helped a lot. Like a lot of people on X are struggling because they don't have the capital to do that. Well, to be fair, I didn't have the capital to do that. It was all like it was all payment.
You know what? Like payment plans are the best way to, kind of space out your dues. Right.
Yeah, and so like I had $5,000 in my bank account, and I was like, I committed to 13,000 because one course that I took promised like 10,000 in 8 weeks.
Right.
And that guy, like my first client, I closed him for 12.5K
Wow.
dollars. Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Like I did that because essentially I did everything in his funnel, like everything. I ghost wrote everything for him, and like I just got out of the 13,000 debt immediately. Like I was,
That was your lucky shot. I mean, you had one shot and you didn't miss.
yeah, and I mean it goes back to what you said though, like networking, because that guy, we've been friends for quite some time before that, and we've
Right.
had a lot of interactions, and I just talked to him over and over again. Like I knew a lot about him. I kind of like we hopped on a couple of calls before that. And so because I had that relationship ready,
Right.
when I had that offer, it was like, yo, this is valuable to me. That's why he thought like this could help me. So, let's do it. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. Like I'll add something to that. I mean, like how lucky we are in 2024 that everything is kind of streamlined to a point where you can have offers on X. I mean, I remember when like X was Twitter back in
yeah,
2018, right? And like it was nowhere near the like the kind of people that we have today, where you can actually talk about offers, marketing, investments, startups. It was nowhere near that. I mean, that's actually one of the biggest reason why I think more people are succeeding on X, because like yourself for that matter, because everyone kind of has access to the same information. It's just what you bring to the table. That's
yeah,
all.
yeah.
So obviously, I mean, your offer has to be something good so that people kind of get into it.
I like to think actually. So this is what I learned in the beginning of my, or just recently. Like I thought, the first clients that you have are kind of like your investors,
Yeah,
because him, like,
pretty
he was
much.
taking on so much risk for hiring me as a
Mm,
beginner, right?
right.
Yeah, and like he just did that deal. Like that's why I'm ever thankful for him, and we stay connected. And like I try to help him as much as I can, because really, like, he had more risk than anyone else ever in forever in my business. Like he
Yeah.
will he had the most risk because, dude, I was a complete newbie. I learned so much from him.
I mean, here's a question. Like the client that you're talking about, was he a blog? I mean, does he run a blog, or does he run?
So he's a coach on X, like a business coach,
Okay.
and he was struggling to get traffic on X, and I basically helped him like get more followers, get more traffic. Like I helped him build out his newsletter. So in the beginning, he actually didn't have a newsletter. I helped him build that out, and yeah, like we're cool.
Interesting, interesting. So, I mean, that's what I mean when I say that we're kind of lucky to be in 2024, where everything is kind of streamlined on X, and it's just your offer that differentiates you from the next guy.
Right.
I mean, that's how people are kind of making their money on X, finding their customers, which is, I mean, I think that's great news for everyone, especially
Yeah.
yourself.
I appreciate it. So, like right now, then, because I see you often on X, like, how did you go on X? Or I assume that you've been on X when it was Twitter, or no?
Yeah, my first account was in 2009, which got suspended for I don't know like why it got suspended, but I'm probably imagining probably because bots followed my account and Twitter kind of flagged my account as a fake account or something. I don't know. And this account that I'm using right now is still way back from 2014. I wasn't really active on this. Didn't really like focus on growing a following. I was more active on Instagram or on Facebook. Like Twitter just didn't really matter. I was way more active on LinkedIn because all the professionals are there, your investors, your other fellow entrepreneurs are there. So, I mean, X really kind of caught my attention from 2022, 2023, and I saw that everyone was going for X Premium last year, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm not gonna go for that. It's not like I can pay $8 or $10 or whatever that is, but I'm gonna take the challenge and I'm gonna grow my first 100 following organically, and like connect with the guy or gal like one to one, and like be a proper friend to them first before I kind of take X Premium. So I reached 100 followers like that organically, and like most of them, uh, we actually had a one-to-one interaction. So I built that foundation so that I already have that following, and after I hit 100, I took X Premium.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a month actually. I reached 100 followers last month, and I took X Premium last month. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, like, what are your goals on X at the moment? Growing your newsletter, or what are the things you're working on?
Yeah, mostly my newsletter, because my newsletter is all about startups. Like I use the tagline "Startups, Capital Flow, and the Global Economy," and I mean it because that's all I talk about. I talk about business, I talk about money, and I talk about the economy. Yeah. So, and my specialty is building startups. Yeah, whether I succeed or fail, I mean that's for later. But I mean, yeah, but but like that's all I talk about. So getting my newsletter off the ground is pretty important to me. I think personal branding is almost like non-negotiable in 2024. It was big. I mean, 6 7 years back, but nobody really bothered. But now it's almost non-negotiable because now you have a proper platform where you have to kind of brand yourself as yourself,
Yeah.
right? So for now, it's just my newsletter. Maybe turn it into a paid newsletter because I do a lot of research on startups. I look into journals, I look into research papers, and I use that to analyze startup data. Eventually, might actually, you know, paywall my newsletter at some point.
Right. Gotcha. Right. I remember now, like, I had a question earlier because for me, I started off as a freelancer in a way, like,
Yeah,
because, I just did do marketing in a way, writing. And only until a couple of months ago did my friend made me realize, yo, you're a business. Like, because he told me, like, so the distinction that he made me for one was I had consulting clients because there are clients who didn't really need my help in ghostwriting, but they wanted me to help them build a brand. So they do it themselves. I don't write for them, but I give them my systems and my knowledge and my experience, right? My
right,
advice.
right,
And then I also did workshops and I did like some courses. And so because I did that, like he told me, yo, you're a business now. And so like as a because it's really hard sometimes to think in terms of business where it's like you calculate stuff and you think long term versus just a freelance where you just look for the quick buck. I don't know if you get what I mean, but
yeah, of course,
yeah.
yeah.
So how do you think, what would your advice be to like people? Because I think a lot of, especially in my audience, a lot of them are freelancers. Like, they think solopreneurs, and yes, like they are. In the beginning, you are a freelancer. What is your advice for freelancers who are transitioning into like a business where they have services, they have like systems in place and all that stuff?
Well, I mean, you gotta pick your battles when you're converting into a proper business or like transitioning into a business. As a freelancer, you get to be more flexible because you don't really have you don't really have a proper goal. You just go with the flow and try to hit the mark. Whatever hits, you kind of go with it, right?
Right.
But once you transition into a business, that's when you have to have your KPIs, and KPIs meaning key performance indicators, which is those are your goals. I mean, those are the activities that kind of fulfills your target for the week, for the day, for the month, and like today or tomorrow. If you're transitioning into a business, you're gonna have to start building your KPI. Those are gonna be the reason why your business succeeds or fails. You don't have to hit your numbers. I mean, like if you're trying to make $100 today, and if you make 50, I mean that's not really failure. That's $50 richer, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't have to be always that you hit your KPI, but you should have that like that target every single period where you try and reach that. And once you have that target, you sit down in an office and you start, like
Working towards that target.
working to target exactly. I would say if you're transitioning, I mean, like start renting an office, man. I mean, like I'm actually renting out two offices, one for my other businesses, my shipping agency and Adora, and one for my newsletter. So I would highly recommend start paying your bills. That would automatically get you motivated to hit your numbers really quickly. I mean,
Gotcha.
it sounds like an oxymoron, but I mean, it really does help, because then you kind of own your space. You're in the zone. You kind of feel like, okay, now I got to do this. I don't have any excuses. I don't have my friends to hang out with, or I don't have that shit to deal with right now. Right now, like this is where I am. This is where I'm sitting, and those are my goals I gotta hit for the day. So
Wow, that's
maybe, yeah,
that's really good advice. Like now I'm thinking about it, gotta look for an office, man. I'm gonna make like a banner in there, put in there like Nathaniel.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't have to like you don't have to like. I mean, get an office. Maybe work out of a co-working. Like right now, I'm working out of a co-working, and it helps me a lot. It helps me because I get so many founders around me, and like entrepreneurs building their own businesses. Like, I mean, you don't get that space to rest, and you kind of feel like, okay, these guys are doing their stuff, like younger, older, same age, doesn't really matter. Everyone's doing their stuff, so I gotta do my stuff. So you kind of start being more motivated to work. I mean, yeah, you can find a co-working maybe if that's a good deal for you. Yeah, you should probably work out of one, rent a desk, and start working.
That's a very interesting, like rent office. That's my in my to do list now.
Rent a desk. I mean, you don't have to. You don't even have to rent an office. Just rent
Right,
a desk.
because I'm like at home right now, and I mean it's nice and all, but sometimes sometimes I just want to go in bed and
There's no way you get work done at home. I mean, I like remote working a lot. I mean,
yeah,
but the real stuff, I mean, the real work comes out when you're in office, when you're sitting behind a desk, when you have a time clock ticking on your head,
yeah.
because you know what, you got to pay rent at the end of the month, so you got to make some money, right?
I gotta make some cash, bro.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Okay, so KPIs. One thing that I did want to ask you, like, eh, is a business plan important? Like, what are your thoughts about business plans? How do you build them? Like, because now I'm interested in this. Like, I'm getting into let's build a business.
That's good. That's actually good.
Yeah. So business plans, like, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's like super necessary for startups in the beginning, or because for me, like, I'm a knuckle dragger in a way. Like, I just do what I need to do and deliver. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Maybe do a one pager, like a two pager. That's it.
Right.
I mean, at max it could extend to like 6 7 pages, but I think that's too long for a small business. Maybe do a one pager, at max two pager. Make
Right.
a plan where, yeah.
And what would you think a business plan should include?
A business plan should include, I mean, you can like Google that up, but I mean, if you want the like the summary, then it should include your goals and objectives, your mission, your vision. It should include your marketing plan. It should include your target market. There are like 6 or 7 things that it should include. After target market, it should definitely include your business model, which is how you're actually making revenue. And after that, your projection for the next 5 years. I think 5 years is too long for a small business. I
Solopreneur.
think, yeah, 3 years maybe like 12 months even.
12 months.
Like how
Gotcha.
much money you want to make within the next 12 months. That's something. That's a projection. Yeah. So
I'm gonna
those
create
are.
my business plan now.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well, let me know how that goes. Yeah. Yeah. I
I'll
got you.
send it over, bro. I'll be like,
Yeah.
yo, what's up?
Yeah.
Can you check this
Always
out?
always provide feedback. Sure.
Cool, man. All right. So, to anyone who's watching, like, what can they expect more from you, and where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on X. Like if you send them the link on your post. I'm pretty active on X right now because I think this is the place to be. My immediate goal is to grow my newsletter. because I have a lot to express and say, but like I didn't have a platform to say this. But now, my newsletter kind of helps me with that, and to grow my newsletter letter just is just like one portion of that. I mean, I'm looking to connect to fellow founders, investors, entrepreneurs. If they need advice, if they can give me any advice, they're most welcome as well. Yeah, so I mean, they can find me on X if they
Right.
want to
So
connect.
that's officially Wasim. That's
Yeah,
your tag.
that's right.
And your newsletter is the capital suit that
Sweet.
co.
Yeah,
Suite, sorry.
yeah.
The capital suite that co. Correct? All right. Awesome, awesome. So I like to ask this in my guest. If there was one question that you wished I asked, but I failed to ask, what would it be and how would you answer it?
I mean, for in this podcast or like
Yeah.
generally.
For this, I mean, anything. Like for this podcast, I guess this podcast. If there's anything that you want that you wish I asked, but I didn't, what is it and how would you answer it?
How would solopreneurs like? No, I would phrase it like this. I mean, what's a good place for solopreneurs to grow their business, or like what's a good program for solopreneurs to grow their business? I think that's a question that everyone wants to know. I would personally answer that as go for an accelerator, go for an incubator. An incubator is different because, I mean, the time frame is longer, but an accelerator would be a short form, would be like a 3 to 6 months thing. So if you're a solopreneur and if you're looking for a place to grow your business, I would say go for an accelerator. That would be my question, and that would be the answer to that question.
Awesome. Accelerators. All right. So thanks for hopping in, Wasim. It was a pleasure talking about seeing the more corporate side of business, startups, and like starting from scratch as a freelancer.
I mean, like I'm no corporate. I'm just a regular guy building stuff, man.
Yeah,
I'm
but
all
like more of the, because as I said, like I'm a knuckle dragger, like just doing the bare bones things of business,
right,
while
right.
I'm learning from you, who's like actually built a business in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I could help you out in some capacity, but of course, I'm not a corporate guy. I'm a guy who wears a t-shirt to work, so I like to keep it that way.
All right, all right. Well, it was fun talking to you. See you around, Wasim.
Pleasure, Nathaniel. Thanks for having me, and let's talk again.
All right, I'll see you. Bye.
See you. Bye.